Been doing since you've been gone. Welcome into the Warzone Sports Network, and you are tuned into an episode of Sports Dummies. That is right, a safe place for you to come and spout off your dumb sports opinions in a safe space. So join us for that. The chat comment section is free. Fill that thing up right there. We're going to get into wherever you want to go, but places we want to go to. Obviously, Deshaun, Baker, Davante Adams will be more on that, and just other moves in free agency. Your team, how you feeling? Good, bad, sad, whatever. We know that you have a lot of choices, and we appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us here. Anybody listening on the podcast level, thank you for that. Find us on YouTube. You can get on these comments live, but however you're listening, we appreciate it. Joe Morley, how you doing? Have you come down from the high of experiencing Davante Adams?
No, as you know, that trade happened on St. Patrick's Day, so I was getting pinched a lot, and I was still thought I was dreaming, Tony, and still hasn't set in. That Davante Adams is a Raider, and it's awesome. I might have to buy a jersey. I'm not a big jersey guy because I don't like buying jerseys, but I might have to, Tony. I might have to buy me a Davante Adams Las Vegas Raider jersey.
I support it, and I told you what I texted you earlier today. I said I was a big Davante Adams fan until 4:38 yesterday when I found out he was going to the Raiders. This is not great news for me. It is not the end-all, be-all. I think it makes things more exciting overall, and I would love to just be on top of a division that is considered by 95% of sports fans maybe the best division that's ever been assembled talent-wise. So going to be fun. It's going to be crazy. I just want to say this really quickly, too, that it is amazing how much people hate the Raiders, Joe. And I'm just going to tee up right there before we get into Deshaun Watson talk. How is it that everybody could be on the consensus that getting the best receiver in football is a bad move for the Raiders?
I was texting you all this morning, and I was like telling you I don't understand. Okay, I saw one guy that goes, horrible. I can't believe that the Raiders gave him that big of a contract. And then somebody goes, well, what if the Packers would have done it? Well, that's different if the Packers would have. No, it's not. No, it's not. If the Packers offered him more money than the Raiders gave him, according to everything that we're reading and hearing, right? So if the Dallas Cowboys would have made this trade, I guarantee they would have been like, Jerry's back. Jerry knows what he's doing, guys. He's doing his thing. But the hate for the Raiders is just hilarious to me. But I guess it comes with the territory. I don't know about you, Tony, but you probably get in the same way with the Chargers. You don't want people talking about your team. You kind of want people to hate on your team. So when your team's winning and proving them wrong, you can just sit back and laugh.
Yeah, I sent this to you in a text message. I would love for the Chargers to become a team that's hated because you're winning. That means that you're winning Super Bowls. Like I said this when I was younger, I cheered for the Patriots in the first Super Bowl for sure. I was like, oh, this is cute. Good for them. They finally got here. And then by the time they were going for Super Bowl number 3, I was like, all right, this is old. I was done with the Patriots winning. And they kind of became the villain for 2 decades. Or at least the better part of 15 years after they won the first couple. And so it's there. Piggy saying Carr about to be a beast. I still have a few reservations on that note, but he has the opportunity to be a beast. That's the thing. I don't think he's ever had the opportunity quite like this with the offensive coordinator, with those weapons. I don't think he's had the opportunity to become a beast, but I'm teetering on that beast conversation.
Can we now say that the Kansas City Chiefs do not have the number one best receiver in the division? The number one receiver has now gone to Las Vegas.
He plays right here. I don't understand what the confusing message is with what's going on in the AFC West.
If you're listening to the podcast, Tony pointed at his Keenan Allen jersey that's sitting behind him. He thinks Keenan Allen is the best wide receiver, but it is what it is. But We talked
Well, it's
about
actually
that.
Mike Williams, but
We
go
talked
on.
about Davante Adams a lot yesterday. Let's go into this one first because this is the one that we've been waiting for all offseason. Basically, we've been waiting a whole year for it to happen, and it's finally happened. Deshaun Watson said no, and then said, "Oh, okay, never mind. I'll go back to Cleveland." So Deshaun Watson has been traded to the Cleveland Browns. 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a fifth-round pick, Tony. Not to mention a brand new contract, 5 years, $230 million guaranteed.
Yeah, this is great for the league overall, entertainment wise, for Cleveland. It sucks for the AFC. Just to have another quarterback like that in the AFC. I mean, if you're Matt Stafford, you got to be like, I woke up 2 years ago in Detroit feeling like my world was going to end. And now I'm in the NFC with like dramatic Aaron Rodgers, who's running out all of his talent, and Tom Brady, who's toying with the idea of retirement. Like, that's it. That's what stands in front of Matthew Stafford, maybe playing in a couple of Super Bowls, especially if Aaron Donald and Ramsey return. But I'll focus on Deshaun Watson here. This was a great decision for him because if you looked at those rosters outside of it, it's a little bankrupt. Also, Dennis Allen, we're not really sure how that's going to work out. A defensive head coach, if you're Deshaun Watson, I think you want to be in a situation with Stefanski. I mean, we've seen Case Keenum thrive in this. Case freaking Keenum has thrived in a Stefanski offense. And now we're talking about giving that to somebody who's as talented as Deshaun Watson. It's insane. And now all of a sudden, I bet you the Amari Cooper, he's not a real number one, doesn't look so bad now that he's got a quarterback like Deshaun Watson there. And the talent at running back, the fact that Deshaun Watson's going to have an offensive line for the first time is absolutely, it seems to be adding up unfair. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones even becomes somebody where you're like, okay, now you got somebody that can really play. And don't get me wrong, we're going to get into Baker after this in a minute, but there's a huge upgrade at the position. And it makes everybody who plays. David Njoku is going to be somebody that you want to target for fantasy football now. Like, just because of the signal caller that he has. It's going to be great for them.
Yeah, and the Browns have a good defense. It's a good one. I mean, besides the fact going to the AFC, it's actually the best team out of the ones that he was choosing between. And the way they structured his contract is unbelievable, and the way that they're guaranteeing him those 5 years is just crazy to me, Tony. They still have to work out the legal aspects. He's still probably going to get suspended somewhere, and it looks like they're ready to do that, and they have Case Keenum ready to go. But after that, I mean, after all this is said and done, the Cleveland Browns upgraded basically, right? He's a big upgrade over Baker Mayfield. You're getting a top when playing great is a top 5 quarterback in this league, or last time he played was a top 5 quarterback. Last time he played the whole season and led the league in passing. But that team still went 4-12. So can Cleveland screw this up still?
No, I don't think they can screw it up to the tune of 4-12. That's pretty bad. I took Mike's comment off the screen where he talks a little bit about realignment because I actually had a topic for our Nuts and Bolts show where I was talking about realigning the AFC West for entertainment purposes. And we'll get into that comment in a little bit because I actually do have a plan that makes it a little more interesting. The thing with having Deshaun Watson there in that division is that, like, you can now feel good about going on the road to places like Baltimore and Pittsburgh, who traditionally have good defenses. You can feel really good about having a similar age. Like, Deshaun Watson only 26. I think Joe Burrow played until he was like 26 at LSU. So, like, they're similar ages, even though Deshaun Watson has all of this experience. You have Myles Garrett on the other side. Maybe a couple other pieces now are more attracted to the idea of going to Cleveland, playing for that team. I doubt it. I've spent a lot of time in Cleveland. I love the people. But if you gave me a choice between playing for them or living in LA, Bobby Wagner, go ahead and put on the Bolts uniform. Come on home. We love it. I cannot see a scenario in which Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski aren't a success, that they aren't
Yeah.
having some deep playoff drives. I think if I'm the Bengals, I'm worried about this, right? Because all it takes is a couple of down seasons for them, and all of a sudden, it's not such an attractive place to go anymore. Like it makes it a lot tougher to say, well, I'm going to move my life to Cincinnati, and I'm going to play in a division that has Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh's defenses
Yeah.
and Deshaun Watson. I'm good, bro. I'm gonna go to the Giants in the NFC East.
Well, you have Joe Burrow, you have Lamar Jackson, and now you have Deshaun Watson all in the same division with your guy and my guy Mitchell Trubisky taking over the helm. So it's loading up. The quarterback play should be great in that division, depending on how Trubisky does. But those should be some great matchups, especially with the defensive matchups that we've already seen. That's already been a tough division. It just got tougher. I don't know. I like the Browns. The reason I like the Browns is because they're running game. So as long as they keep continuing to hand the ball off and not going too much on Deshaun Watson, I like the Browns and what they're going to do. But in the total AFC picture of things, how much does that actually move them up? In my book, it doesn't really move them up too much. Maybe now they are right there on the verge of being a playoff team, if not a playoff team. So I have them hinging right there, just because of how loaded this AFC team or these teams are in the AFC. And I just sent you a message, Tony, of what the Bills general manager said.
Oh yeah, I saw that
He's going to vote for a realignment, to get some of these teams out of the AFC, which is pretty funny. But it's just crazy to me of how much it is. But now we talked about this in our show yesterday. We talked about how we're waiting for Deshaun Watson to do it because then the musical chairs are going to start falling again. So now Deshaun Watson's in Cleveland, which means Baker's out. Baker's asking to go to Indianapolis. And Baker in Indianapolis, it doesn't make sense to me, but try to make some sense for me.
Baker asking to go to Indy is fine. I asked to go for a vacation to Hawaii. Sometimes I end up at the park. Like you kind of get what you get. It's a situation where they have to want you back because you don't have that pull like Deshaun did. And also it's not a no trade clause situation. So the team that comes with the most heat for Baker is the team that's going to get him, and he's going to like it. So there's a lot of teams out there I think that are going to have interest. There's not a lot of teams I think he can be good on. And in my opinion, had Baker just not sent that message, which I didn't really have a problem with that message, but had he not stirred up that controversy, I think the Browns might have actually been like, hey, we did pick this kid one. We did put a lot of pressure on him. Let's try to move him to a situation where he could have some success. Now, I'm thinking of that as like a rose-colored glasses, as if any organization gives a shit about another organization. They don't. But sometimes they do. He did take him to the playoffs. He did rally the fan base. Had he not been that guy, I was going to go a different direction, but I don't know if I want to go down that route with Deshaun and Baker and whatever else. Baker is not going to do well in Seattle, not going to do well in Carolina. I think maybe he could do okay with New Orleans. The problem there is Armstead. You're going to lose him. You think Armstead's re-signing to block for Baker Mayfield? No, his family will be fine.
New Orleans is bringing Winston back.
Huh?
New Orleans is bringing Winston back. That broke right after the Watson news.
Okay, perfect. Good for them. And also, if you're the Colts, I would much rather have Matt Ryan than have Baker Mayfield.
That's what I'm going to ask you. What if what if they send Mayfield to Atlanta and Matt Ryan to Indianapolis? Wouldn't that be the best scenario?
I mean, it's the best scenario for all those parties involved. Again, it's about what's happening with the Matt Ryan contract, like how much of that are they eating and passing and trading. But Baker's not going to survive in Atlanta. I mean, and Kyle Pitts might hold out. Kyle Pitts might say, hey, I know you guys just drafted me last year, but I ain't wasting my body on this bullshit. I ain't wasting my years, my reps, my blocking, my knees on any of this. I'm out. I don't want to be here for that.
And I really don't see Baker Mayfield going anywhere any other team that he can be good at and not be a backup. Like, I think he'll get his one shot now, but I don't see it as a long-term fix of wherever he goes. If he goes to Seattle or Carolina or Atlanta or wherever he goes, it's not going to be a long-term thing. I think we've seen the last of Baker Mayfield as a franchise quarterback. Now he's just going to be that stopgap guy.
Well, I think he's going to get another shot to compete for a job somewhere, right? Because at some point we're going to see one of these guys not pan out, and a team's like maybe the Jets. Things don't pan out with Zach Wilson. Maybe things don't pan out in Chicago for Justin Fields. Even maybe Jacksonville, even though I just think getting Doug Peterson and just being aggressive, it just feels already like they've turned a corner in Jacksonville. I'm very happy for that situation. But like, I think he does get another chance to compete just because there's somebody else out there that goes, oh, well, the Browns just didn't do it right. It's like the girl that's like, oh, well, I can change him. Yeah, he leaves his dirty socks on the floor and he doesn't wash his plate. I can fix him. No, you can't. Ladies, like if a dude is a slob, he's going to be a slob forever. He might be good for the first 6 months, but the slob will come back as soon as he gets normal. Find a man whose mom raised him right and he knows how to pick up after himself. That's all.
What is Baker Mayfield worth on the trade market?
If I was an organization and I know the situation, I'm not giving more than a fifth. If I find out like 2 teams are bidding, I might go for a 4th round pick, right? Like if I'm the Colts, would I say like, let's bring him in? I feel like Baker and Jim Irsay could actually kind of bond quite well. Like it feels like 2 big personalities. It would be a huge meltdown at some point. Like they would butt heads and Baker would be like, throwing brandy in his face. There tonight, reporting live in Indianapolis, Baker Mayfield assaulted the owner of the Indianapolis Colts. So it would be a mess. It would be a very messy situation at some point there. But maybe I'd go with a 4th pick at the most.
Yeah.
But I think I'm staying around a 5th.
So we talked about it that Wentz is I agree, or you probably agree with me that Wentz is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. So for the Colts to grab Baker Mayfield, you're evened out this season, and it's just you did a bunch of stuff for no damn reason. But it is what it is. Felke's here. What is he saying? Tom Grassi, as a Raider fan, I haven't been this excited for a wide receiver since AB. Oh wait.
Don't let him rain on your parade. Don't let Felke rain on your parade or wreck your train of thought.
I'm not, because the Raiders won the Amari Cooper trade, so it's all good. But yeah, so that it's gonna be. And then we got to. I'm still waiting for all these quarterbacks. So I want to see where Matt Ryan goes now. I want to see if he stays put. I want to see Baker Mayfield, and I want to see Jimmy G. So there's still 3 quarterbacks out there, and Marcus Mariota's still out there, right?
Yeah, and there's teams. The Giants are on the fence, obviously, with their situation. I don't want to say like you. Maybe the Rams reach out and they say like, "Hey, you want to come ride the pine for a couple years, behind Stafford, or maybe he's like a good viable backup for them, or like maybe McVay can rehabilitate his image, kind of the way the Bills did for Trubisky, like." When Trubisky was done at Chicago, people were like, this guy will never, he doesn't have the arm talent. He doesn't have what, and now all of a sudden people are excited about him being in Pittsburgh. I'm excited for that opportunity for him, but am I hopeful that he's going to be a 10-year starter in Pittsburgh, in a place where you need incredible arm strength, where kickers can't make 48-yard field goals because the wind is so bad? And this guy's throwing ducks 35 yards down the field. Like, I don't know that it's a great position.
Well, another spot, and I'm gonna throw it out there. I don't know. I don't have nothing on it. But remember when Bruce Arians was coming into coaching, he was talking about how he would want to go to Cleveland and coach Baker Mayfield. What if somehow the Bucks pull this off and they get Baker Mayfield as Tom Brady's backup down there?
It's another good spot. Like any place where there's a veteran quarterback like that, maybe the Packers look around and they say like, hey, we'll flip Jordan Love to Seattle. or maybe another team that liked him in the pre-draft process for a 5th-round pick, and we'll trade a 5th round for Baker and bring him here, and he can be the backup to Aaron Rodgers. You want to talk about the most dramatic sideline? Like, here's the other thing. Baker, if he is on a sideline, is going to be a great cheerleader and teammate. That's just kind of who he is, that rah-rah. Like, I could see him over there chugging a beer when they win a game in the 4th quarter and eating hot dogs and, like, probably being a little more professional because he does want to start again. But, like, he's going to be that guy that if anybody who watches the NBA who's listening to this, those guys that are on the bench that celebrate harder than the starters, who just hit like a 40-foot three-pointer to win the game, and they're shaking towels and their moneymaker like they did something. And they did. They cheered him on. But I could see him being a good cheerleader. Yeah. Petey Pablo style, twisted around your head like a helicopter.
Yeah, so we'll find out. We'll see where that goes. Other news today, Tony, AFC West added another big name. TikTok star, wide receiver Juju Smith went to the Kansas City Chiefs. Does that impress you any?
What happened?
Does that impress you? Anything? Does it make you like go fear the Chiefs a little bit more, or
it definitely makes them more dangerous, right? I think that they have really lacked that second wide receiver. They tried to make Hardman a thing. They tried to make Pringle a thing last year, and they just didn't do it. I think Juju's blocking in the run game helps out if they can figure out their running back situation. Does it strike fear in me? No, not at all. But it's good. I think it's a good place for Juju. He gets to go back and be in that 2, maybe even 3 role, because it really is, we're feeding Kelsey, we're feeding Hill, and then we need another guy in there. So I think it helps. It's really going to be up to Mahomes. I have said this for forever to people. Mahomes has to fall out of love with himself. He has to fall out of love with the idea of being, going viral for a highlight or being on the top 10 Sports Center high. He just does too much stuff that hurts the team when there's too much talent for them to be losing and being close in some of these games. So we'll see. Juju's.
But there's nothing better, Tony, than to get home, turn on the TV, and see yourself in the top 10 plays.
I do. I love it. I want to go back to Mike's realignment question, because here was what I was going to propose. This is what was going to be my thing for nuts and bolts, but I'll do it here. And it's not originally my idea. It was my brother-in-law. We were talking about this. And he was saying, if you're trying to sell the NFL, don't you want to see Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes being able to win their division every year and then playing each other in AFC? Like, just if you're from a marketing standpoint. Then you go to the AFC South, and it's like, what are the Texans doing? If you look at a map, the Texans and the Chiefs are basically in the same spot. So you flip out the Chiefs into the AFC South. You bring the Texans over to the AFC West. Now you have a bit more of a balanced division. The problem is now that every team in the AFC West has made it impossible. So would it be great to bring Davis Mills instead of Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, it would lessen it a little bit, but it almost takes away from the glory of what this division is going to be all year. Like, if you drop last year, the Chargers lost a game to the Texans on the road, and I was like, you can't lose to the Texans if you want to be a playoff. Like, you can't do it. I mean, they're not good. And they lost. They come out uninspired, play bad football. Herbert has 2 interceptions. It was not a good game for anybody. But now all of a sudden it's like, why not? The more the merrier. I want Juju. I want everybody there. But I do think realignment is not a horrible idea. I wouldn't hate it if they tried it for a year.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I always look at the geographic design of everything, and I always wondered how Kansas City got into the West and all that stuff. But I don't know. I like the way it's set up, and I'm a big guy against change. I don't care how good it gets, how bad it is. But I do like what Mike was saying about no divisions and just the top 14 teams or top, you know what I mean? No, just best teams make it. Like,
See, I'm more of a conference split. I think you should still have an AFC, NFC, and the top 7 make it from each side, right? The problem is like with the schedule, it's so nice the way they've configured it. Even adding a game, the games they added that are like out of conference, where they added, if you finish in third place, they try to schedule you another game with a third place opponent from somewhere else or whatever it is. Like for a long time, it's kind of how we ended up with those bad Thursday night football games where they're like, oh shit, Jacksonville was bad and so were the Jets. We got to put this game on this shit show, 2 fourth place teams somewhere. And so they put it on Thursday night. Like they would always do that in the schedule. I do like how things are split up now. It doesn't matter what they do. I'm still going to watch. Everybody's like,
I'll watch anything. What did we watch last year? Geno Smith versus who was the other quarterback? I forget.
I don't know, Mike Glennon or something. Like I do remember.
Mason Rudolph? Was it Mason Rudolph?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Steelers, Seahawks. And it was kind of a fun game.
We have a question in the chat from Timothy about the Giants trading James Bradbury, Bredesen to Seattle for Jamal Adams, Tyler Lockett, a draft pick, or 2 draft picks. Do we think that's going to happen?
Is this a trade that you made up, or is this one actually being floated about?
I think he made this one up, or maybe he read it somewhere and he's asking if it's going to happen.
I honestly, I don't know. I think I like this trade better for
Seattle.
You get 109th pick via the Jets.
I don't think this trade will happen. I know Bradbury has been talked about and he's been on the block for a little bit because of how much money he's making. But I don't see them going this big of a trade. And I don't know. I think Seattle has
hang on, Joe. Is Ben Bredesen a real player, or is this? Have you ever heard of Ben Bredesen before? What position does he play? I don't think I'm not going to lie. I don't know anything about Mr. Ben Bredesen. James Bradbury, I do think.
He's an offensive guard.
Okay. So they get a guard and Bradbury for Tyler Lockett. I think still has a couple of good seasons left. He's one of those guys where, like, if he got in the slot on the right team, it would be dangerous for that man to be in the right offense.
Yeah.
And Jamal Adams just feels like he's out of position. I don't know. Felke, if you're putting those kind of rumors in, they better be true. These better not be your hopes and dreams. Don't tease me like that. I've been waiting on Bobby Wagner news.
Bobby Wagner news. I can give you some other news in the NFL. Your Josh Johnson has signed with the quarterback has signed with the Denver Broncos.
Okay, good for him. It's funny how like that I just told you about how that popped up into my life, and there was like, the brother-in-law was like, "Oh, I played college football with Josh Johnson." I was like,
well, Josh Johnson has played for almost more than half of the teams in the NFL, maybe.
Yeah, and he's actually a good backup.
Dallas Cowboys did sign somebody. Those Dallas Cowboys signed wide receiver James Washington from Pittsburgh, if you remember him.
I do. I actually really like that pickup right there for the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys, but I'm a fan of James Washington. I think his abilities were underutilized because Ben was pretty much one read and done those last couple of years. But when he got a chance to play, he was doing a bit of shining. So that's a good move for them.
No, I'm with you on James Washington. I do like him. And, he's already used to being in a crowded wide receiver room, so he goes in there knowing how to do it. And if Michael Gallup goes down again, it's a good replacement for him.
He's really big, and he really goes up and competes for the football. That might be the first positive things the Cowboys have done this entire offseason. Congratulations, Felke. We're really pulling for you here over in Big D. Timothy, I don't know anything about that trade, but I don't really know who wins and loses in that situation. I mean, Tyler Lockett ends up for the Giants. It's like, don't you guys already have Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay? Like, receiver isn't your issue there. And I don't think Jamal Adams helps your defense at all. Like,
no.
He feels like a linebacker who wants to play safety.
I don't know if you saw this one today, Tony, but since the Panthers lost out on Deshaun Watson, they have extra money because all these teams were like saving money just in case they made this big trade and they had to do it right. So they went out and they extended DJ Moore. Did you see that big contract for DJ Moore? 3 years, 51 million, 41 million in new money.
Yeah, throw it in the bag. I guess if you got it, like spend it. The problem is is he throwing to himself next year? Is he running the Wildcat offense? Because if they put Sam Darnold back out there, season ticket sales are going to collapse. I don't know if the NFL still blacks out games, but they will not be showing whatever PJ Walker they put out there. Like
Sam the GOAT.
I mean, Matt Rule, his time in Carolina is going to be forgotten so fast and hard. Like it's just been injury after injury, and like, oh, we're gonna try Bridgewater. That's not gonna work. Oh, we're excited. We're bringing in Sam Darnold. That ain't gonna work. Like, it has just been a rotisserie dumpster fire that since he's got there. And
do you think he's a bad coach, or you think he's just not? He just got put in a bad, situation?
I think sometimes guys just end up in lousy situations. I mean, we're going to find out about Dennis Allen. Like, did he hit the Raiders during their down period? And by down period, I mean 30 years. Like, if that's what we're talking about. So,
well, I've told you I like Dennis Allen. I don't know if he's going to end up being another great head coach or good head coach, but I liked him in his time in Oakland. But that whole time was a bad time. Like, now, am I guaranteeing that he's going to go to the Saints and tear it up and be the great head coach? No, I'm not saying that. But I actually liked him. I liked his philosophies. I liked everything he did. And when he got a new, that new defensive coordinator spot in New Orleans, he showed that he's a great defensive coach, and he's doing it. But can he take that step? Can he learn from what he did in Oakland and lead the Saints? And it kind of sucks because he got put, with a not so great roster. It's turned into a better one than it is, but at one point it was looking pretty bad.
See, I actually think the Saints are kind of sneaky good. Like, if Michael Thomas finally stops whatever shenanigans he's doing, like, I really miss that guy. He was a good football player, and then all of a sudden can't guard Mike, is punching people in the face and avoiding surgeries and missing entire seasons. It's like, bro, you're too good and talented to be wasting your prime not playing football. Like, I really look at it as like, this is an entertainment business. Like, you have a small window to shine, especially at a skill position. Like, be out there as much as you can, because when you can't be there anymore, you're gonna regret it. You're gonna be like, shit, man, I wish I could have done more.
And what is it? Is it just something in the that wide receivers take on? Is it the diva persona or what? Because more and more wide receivers are just going. Well,
I definitely think it's an easy position to fall into ego, right? Like, look at me, look what I do. You're competing one-on-one, with somebody that is basically stalking you. And when you beat, like, you get to beat them. You get to have fame and glory and make great catches and plays, and you're on the end of the highlight. Like, very rarely do they show the quarterback, but they go up and show somebody getting mossed. It's not like there's not a highlight zone where, Troitman comes on. He's like, you got spiraled. Like, you don't. You get mossed. Like, you want to be that guy. So it takes a lot to be a Larry Fitzgerald, to remove your ego. And it takes a lot to be Calvin Johnson. It's much easier to fall in love with yourself and think you're bigger than your organization. But you get back Kamara. Marquez Callaway was like starting to do some things last year. I like Jameis Winston. He was playing good before the knee injury. I think it's that defense. Demario Davis is still there. They still have Lattimore, I believe. Maybe Armstead comes back. Maybe he liked Winston. I don't know. Maybe the Dolphins offer him more money, but who knows?
I'm surprised he's still on the market. But like you said, now the Saints don't have that money that they're going to ship out to Deshaun Watson. They could use it elsewhere and bring him back. So, you know me, Tony. Last year I was on the fade the Saints. I don't know if I'm going to go back on there, but as of right now, I'll still say fade the Saints. Fade the Saints!
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to look at all of these teams because I think the Bengals have done a much better kind of low-key job at working that offensive line out, which was a big problem. I was like, oh shit. Now they're meeting with Lyle Collins. They went and got Kappa, and now all of a sudden a weakness could be a strength on a team that has two dynamite wide receivers. Like maybe they're not going to make the playoffs prediction was a step too soon, especially if Watson misses 4 games. And I'll say this, the Chargers have the Bengals on their schedule this year. If he does get a suspension, I hope we play him within the first 4 weeks. Like, let's just go over there and get Case Keenum rather than Deshaun, or at least the first 6 weeks. A couple of those rust games he's knocking off, and let him knock the rust off against Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, and Derwin James, J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, I'm good with that too. Play the Browns when you don't have to, but Cincinnati, yeah, they're quietly fixing that offensive line, and that was one of their main issues in the Super Bowl when I told you that Aaron Donald was going to tear him up. But they did make a big move today too. They re-signed Eli Apple, 1 year, $4 million.
Oh man, Eli Apple! I love that kid's confidence because anybody who can take a beating like that from their peers and the internet and still just keep being like, okay, I'll see you next time. I think he's going to make a great entertainer. Like if he has the ability to speak without cursing, I've never heard an interview with him, but if he has the ability to speak without cursing, which is a skill, then he will be on ESPN. He'll be on. Yeah, I mean, it takes a little bit of work, but I believe that you could master it if you wanted.
It's very hard to do because I cannot even go through our show without cursing.
What the hell is this?
The Chargers are the biggest embarrassment of any sports franchise, and that's from Eddie Linto. And look at that; he has a Raider jersey in his avatar.
Okay. Well, I mean, you use words like embarrassment. I don't know if you watched what happened to your team last year. I know you guys don't get embarrassed because you have no shame or soul or, any reason to be good contributing members to society, but pretty embarrassing some of the stuff that was going on last year for you. Simply Dab, we're doing Nuts and Bolts this channel. We actually started a Nuts and Bolts YouTube channel, Simply Dab. If you want to hop over there, it's all Chargers content all the time, but subscribe to both.
All Chargers.
All Chargers all the time. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be a lot of Chargers talk. I'm so excited about it. Eddie Lento. Look at this. Now, I hope Eddie Lento comes back when we go throw a beat down and Davante Adams goes 3 catches for 28 yards and no TDs in his first game.
Here's the thing. The Detroit Lions and the Detroit Lion fans, they know they suck, right? They know that their team can't compete year in and year out. They already know that going in. The Chargers, on the other hand, they've had great quarterback play. They've had great players. They've had number one offense and number one defense in the same year at one point. They give their fans hope, and they never do anything. Which one's worse? Knowing that your team sucks or having that hope and getting smashed every year and getting your heart just ugh.
I think never having hope is a very sad way to live, right? So being a Lions fan is the worst it can possibly get. Like it is literally, it doesn't get any worse than that, and I would say even the Jets have kind of become dangerously close to that level of like, you never have hope. Like maybe every couple of years you draft a quarterback and you're like, this is the guy who's going to do it. And then he breaks your heart again. I mean, Sam Darnold, Mark Sanchez, Zach Wilson, like it just feels like the same story. I mean, you might as well call them the New York Groundhog Days because they just seem to be waking up with the same nightmare every 5 or 6 years. So, and the Lions, like you go into the season in the 1 year that maybe the Packers aren't good, the Bears will have Brian Urlacher at defense. Or the Vikings have Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Dante Culpepper chucking the ball all over the place. So like you just never get that breakthrough season where the Lions are winning the division. But I have a feeling it's coming. I like what Danny Campbell's doing.
Raiders by RGM in the chat. I like that one. Go ahead. Surely us restructuring Khalil Mack suggests we're moving for something. Well, yeah, Khalil Mack made some freed up some of that money for the Chargers to have some more to make because and you agree with me, Tony. You're a Charger fan. I'm a Raider fan. Even though the Raiders and Chargers have made these big moves, they still can't consider themselves done. The Chargers and the Raiders still have to go out there and make a few more moves to put their team together.
Yeah, no, I think that you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your team, everybody, to like get every chance that you can possibly get on the open market once the season starts. I do think that there's a little bit too of these GMs saying like, wait, why don't we use the trade deadline to unload cap and money and players and get some draft picks back? Like, I think we're going to start to see some more deadline moves from teams that really look around and be like, yeah, we can't compete, like let's move some stuff.
And I think the extra week kind of helps out with the trade deadline as well, depending on where it's at. This guy's really taking shots at the Chargers right now, talking about how he has fans. You guys piggyback off the Rams for a home, and when LA didn't even
played in an ashtray for like 30 years at the Oakland Coliseum. That thing was a urinal cake. It was a dump. You guys had to move to Vegas to get a stadium. You guys had to go get stripper money and friggin' glitter all over and booby tassels. Get out of here.
So Tom Telesco cleared up that they won't be trading Justin Herbert, so that's a good thing for Charger fans.
I think he's making a joke. It's a little tongue in cheek. Telesco on McAfee said that. I like this Lento guy. He's funny.
Just talking trash. The Chargers are going to be a real deal this year, he says. Can't deny it.
Yeah. No, he's good. I like this.
Gilmore to the Raiders has been a big thing, and we've been getting that all day. It came out yesterday that the Raiders put an offer in, but then it was out this morning that the Raiders never really officially offered him anything. Does it make sense? Yes, because the history. Do the Raiders need him? Probably yes.
Yes.
Will it happen? I don't know. Will it happen?
I hope not. I have my fingers crossed. I just keep going. Come on, Stefan. Somebody offer this man a bunch of money. You know that I wanted Chandler Jones. Now, this is before I knew that Khalil Mack was a thing. I didn't know he was an option. But Chandler Jones was the pass rusher that I wanted. So I'm not going to sit up here and bash that move. I think it's great. I have said for the past couple of years, Davante Adams is the best receiver in football. I would love to see him play without Aaron Rodgers. Now I get that chance, and I get to root for it to be a failure. So, I think that the things that you guys have done are good. I think there was patience. There didn't seem to be any overreaction to the early moves of the Chargers and the Broncos. They found a plan. They stayed with it. If it wouldn't have worked out for Davante Adams, they weren't going to get Allen Robinson or whatever. They were just going to be content with we'll figure it out, or we'll draft, or they had a plan. They stuck to it. Now I just hope it all folds in on them.
Herbert seems like a guy that would take less money for the team. We've talked about this, Tony, about quarterbacks' money. And people are going to start realizing, like you just saw what Aaron Rodgers did. And that's a totally different thing, but you can't take big money and not build a team and be able to build a team around you the way you want. Tom Brady wins because Tom Brady doesn't take top 5 quarterback money.
So I think that Herbert might be smart enough to realize the sort of loophole that hey, let me sign some big contracts, but I'll do them short term. I'll do 3-year contracts for when I first start getting paid. There was something where it was if they pay Patrick Mahomes this $500 million over 10 years or whatever, it's going to be a good thing. And it's is it going to be a good thing? Then the contract, do you have to break it and redo it? And the way that Kirk Cousins has been operating seems to be a very efficient way. And I heard somebody, I forget who, I wish that I could give her credit. She was on NFL Network, and she said she thinks that's going to be a model going forward. Is for a quarterback to play on a couple of franchise tags maybe, and then get to doing 1- and 2-year deals. I could see Herbert's first contract being not team friendly where he's not making any money, but maybe it is 140 for 3 years, and it's a bunch of it is paid in bonuses. So it doesn't break the team down. He's also just he's exactly what I would always wanted a quarterback to be, and what I try to tell my nephew who's I'm going to play in the NFL someday. And I was never open up a social media. The thing that I would tell any athlete is you want to be the inspiration and not the fuel. You want to be the reason that you want to be the fuel for idiots like Joe and Mike to get on their TikTok and talk about you. That's what you want to do. You want to be their fuel. You want to live as your life is an inspiration and the fuel that they need to get on there and talk shit about you.
That's right. And I'll do it. I'll make a TikTok about anybody and everybody. But yeah, so NFL free agency has been great, Tony. I'm liking it. I'm loving it. I don't want to go too long today because I know you have another show later on.
Yeah.
You have anything else you want to talk about today?
No, not really. We'll get into it more, and we'll have the weekend and the week to look and see what is going on with the Arizona Cardinals. I'm still just like baffled by what's going on there. I think where does Lionel Collins went to meet with the Bengals, and honestly, kind of bummed about it. I was hoping he might want to sit down with the Chargers, but also Billy Turner's still out there. There's still some good options if they want to pay a tackle.
Crazy to think about Collins' career of being supposedly he was supposed to be a first-round pick. Remember that? Yeah. And he had some charges right the day of the draft or right the day before the draft. They dropped him. He ended up going to the Cowboys and now still having a good career after that. So it's amazing to see that his career is doing good.
Yeah, he's been a little banged up, and there's been some questionable things. For me, we need a right tackle. Like we cannot run Storm Norton out there again, where he's just getting abused by Chandler Jones and Crosby and Gregory and Chubb and Chris Jones. I love how everybody keeps throwing Frank Clark in the mix. I was like, has anybody watched Frank Clark in his last 25 games? Like, why does he keep getting mentioned in the same sentence as Khalil Mack? Why does he keep getting mentioned in the same sentence as Joey Bosa? Please stop it.
Oh, he's good. Frank Clark is amazing.
Oh, Frank Clark he couldn't touch Max Crosby right now.
No, and I don't know. I hope that deal with the Bengals or whatever he's talking with the Bengals doesn't work out, because I know the Raiders are probably calling him. I know the Chargers are probably calling. Lyle Collins' phone is probably ringing off the hook right now, and he's probably getting a lot of offers. But if he wants to go to the Bengals because he thinks, everybody said the Bengals were an offensive line away from winning the Super Bowl. They were one touchdown away from winning it last year. They were an Eli Apple batted pass away from winning the Super Bowl, right? They were right there. So the Bengals are a hot destination until they start losing again.
Yeah. Oh, now we got Dab firing back. Thank you. Firing back at the Raiders fans, dropping a little Alex Leatherwood in here. And with
about Alex Leatherwood like that.
15th pick of the the Las Vegas Raiders. Joe, your meltdown for that is still one of my favorite moments ever as part of the Warzone Sports Network. Oh!
Yeah. Well, the guy I wanted was Morwig, and they ended up getting him in the second round. But Alex Leatherwood, I did see a picture of Alex Leatherwood. He's dropped a lot of weight, so hopefully they've been getting on him. But I don't know. Even the Raiders, like new coaches, new regime, haven't really gave him thumbs up or know where he's going to play next year. But Alex Leatherwood.
Well, he's got pedigree, and I think there's probably some connection. If Belichick is that close to Saban, maybe McDaniels also has some pull with him where he can call and say, "Hey, like, can you call and fire up your boy?" Like,
yeah,
he's a Roll Tide guy, and he's just rolling over and getting dump trucked by every defensive lineman in the league, bro. He's a fucking turnstile. Get him out of here. All right. I love Simply Dab that you're fired up. Head on over to Nuts and Bolts and subscribe there. We'll be on at 5:30. We're having our friend David Oliver, I believe he's a Chargers fan, come on the show with us and talk Nuts and Bolts over there. Eddie Lento, it was great to meet you. Can't wait till we run into each other again in these internet streets. Thank you again for joining Sports Dummies. It's always a good time to be in a good spot with Joe Morley, saying the dumbest things that we can whenever we want. Have a great weekend. Enjoy free agency. Subscribe. Tell a friend about the show. Find the podcast on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And Joe and I will see you next week.
Raiders.
Bro, I'm going to vomit. You got to stop saying that. I'm getting nauseous, bro. It's disgusting.